Every year, there are only a certain number of days of massive political significance. I believe today, yesterday, this week is one of those periods. We have to talk about what's happening with the Republican Party. This is unprecedented. Trump is now facing the biggest rebellion from his own party since taking office. It is all about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the timing is a disaster for Trump. He just had this brutal week. Last week, his party got destroyed at the polls. The Supreme Court seems very skeptical about his blanket tariffs. We just ended a 40-plus day government shutdown. And then Wednesday happens. House Democrats released documents showing Epstein said Trump knew about the girls that Epstein was trafficking. In another email, Epstein calls Trump a maniac with early dementia. We're going to get to all of the emails a little bit later. But the big story here is that at least 100 Republicans are expected to vote to release all of the classified Epstein files. Why would they do this? Well, they would do it because they might see the inevitability of the files coming out, and they want to be seen as not on the side of those accused of sexual assault and worse. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, said the vote is going to happen next week. We now have 218 signatures on the discharge petition, thanks to the swearing in, finally, of our friend, now Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva. The Republican defections keep coming. Warren Davidson and Don Bacon, Tim Burchett, and I could give you the list. They're signaling we are going to vote yes on this. And so they're going to join Thomas Massie and Nancy Mace and presumably Lauren Boebert, although there is now an effort to shut her up, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others. Some Republicans are holding to defending Donald Trump, and they're attempting various propaganda distractions. Here is Congressman Buddy Carter, along with Fox host Maria Bartiromo, saying all of this Epstein stuff is just a deflection from the real problem, which is Democrats are the problem.
Democrats are getting an assist from the media because the media, I mean, yesterday I was flipping around. It was around 5, 6 o'clock at night, and they were literally voting in the Senate. I mean, they were literally voting in the House, rather, pardon me. And they would not even talk about the government shutdown coming to an end on CNN. They were a wall to wall on Jeffrey Epstein. They would not discuss the fact that the Democrats, in their eyes, caved. And that's the way CNN saw it, that the Democrats caved. I mean, this is really activist media. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and it's really sad because the American people who believe that they're being misled. We all know that. Look, the Epstein part is just them trying to deflect away from the real problem. The real problem here is that the Democrats, the Senate Democrats, Chuck Schumer, John Ossoff, they voted 14 times to keep the government closed.
That's the real problem, guys. Not that after denying that he barely even knew him and certainly didn't have contact with him over the last 10 years, and the emails reveal that that is not true. The real story is it's a distraction because the government was closed. Trump is freaking out. He went on Truth Social calling this the Jeffrey Epstein hoax and that only very bad, stupid Republicans would fall for this. Well, they all seem to be falling for it, or at least many of them. And the White House panicked and brought Lauren Boebert in reportedly to try to get her not to go forward with this. Trump calling her a couple days ago, phone tagged, she refused, but her signature stayed in. Now, what is in these files? Well, so far, we've seen less than 1% of what the Justice Department has, which is 20,000 emails. Trump's name is all over it. We're going to look at some emails later. Just from what's been released, Trump's name is all over this thing. And in that critical email we looked at yesterday from 2011, Epstein wrote about Trump. He is the dog that hasn't barked, and that one of the victims spent hours at Epstein's house with Trump. Thomas Massie kind of nailed it, and he says the deal for Republicans here is that if you vote the way Trump wants, he'll protect you, but otherwise you might get hit with a primary. Let's listen to that.
And how many Republicans do you think will vote for this on the floor?
Well, I've already had a couple Republicans tell my office privately that they're going to vote for it, and I think that could snowball. The deal for Republicans on this vote is that Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way. In other words, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles, you've got cover in a Republican primary. But I would remind my colleagues that this vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president.
Right.
And what are you going to do in 2028 and 2030 when you're in a debate, either with a Republican or a Democrat, and they say, how can we trust you? You covered up for a pedophile.
Now, Thomas Massey is, of course, correct. This goes on your permanent record. I don't want to be pedantic and do one of these. Actually, I do think that a lot of these people are using the word pedophile wrong. My understanding is that pedophile is an attraction to prepubescent people. That's not what's being alleged here. These were underage girls, but they were not prepubescent. It's such a technicality. I do think we should be precise. And so I've avoided using the word pedophile because it just doesn't seem to be accurate, but I understand what they mean. They're talking about underage girls. Don Bacon said this is a self-inflicted wound by the White House. He says, I'm for transparency. Now, if the House passes this, it does need Senate approval and it does need Trump's signature and he could veto it. But imagine the optics of vetoing transparency about your relationship with a sex offender. Only 40% of Republicans approve of how Trump has handled the Epstein files. 90% of Republicans approve of Trump overall. So this is an issue that is really bothering them. So the question is this it for Trump? When 100 members of your party publicly defy you, that is a structural problem. And the Republican Party is choosing. Some of the Republicans are saying, I'm going to choose transparency and my constituents over Trump. Trump's power is built on loyalty and fear. And so this is devastating. The vote, presumably coming next week, is going to be massive. And the rebellion seems real. I don't think I've ever seen Trump's grip on the party slip to the degree that it has today. But the biggest cowards in the Republican Party are the ones who are now going to vote to release the Epstein files because of the pressure, but who previously tried to block the petition. They wanted to run cover, but now that they see we may just not have the numbers, let me scramble to see if I can get on the right side of history. So that's what's going on with Republicans. Let's talk about what's going on at the White House.